Well, the United States faces a record deficit of $1.6 trillion, and unemployment is near a 25-year high. So has this country seen the end of its prosperity? Economist Arthur Laffer says no, and he offers a solution to America's economic woes.
Former President George W. Bush and President Obama may not appear to have much in common, but one man says the two leaders do share a fundamentally wrong view on economic policy. Arthur Laffer, former economic advisor to President Reagan, says recent administrations have failed to grasp Economics 101. Hasty decisions and bad political policy have led the country further into debt and ultimately to the end of prosperity, the topic of Laffer's 2008 best-selling book. Now the leader of the 1980s tax-cutting movement returns with a follow-up book, Return to Prosperity. Laffer and co-author Stephen Moore show how America can regain its economic superpower status. Laffer says knee-jerk spending packages, price and wage controls, and government overregulations suffocate the economy. His prescription? Cut government fat, reduce debt, encourage retirement savings, and revive the investor class. It's a plan Laffer says is vital to all Americans.
Well, the book is called Return to Prosperity, How America Can Regain Its Economic Superpower Status. Art Laffer is with us right now from Nashville. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
What's the deal? Bush Jr. and Obama share the same mistake? What is it?
Oh, if you look in the last 2 years of the Bush administration, I mean, you just can't have a prosperous economy, Pat, when the government's overspending, way overspending, raising tax rates, overregulating, printing way too much money, and restricting the free flow of goods and services across national boundaries. It just can't happen. And what happened with Bush, unfortunately, is that administration panicked. And you know, no good decisions are ever made when a government panics. Believe me.
Well, they had something called TARP that looks like a panic to pull out Goldman Sachs. And what about these other, there was a stimulus, there was a follow-on from the Obama administration. Did either one of them work?
No, of course not. I mean, you can't bail people out of trouble without putting other people into trouble. You know, the government doesn't create resources. If they give transfers to one group of people, they take them away from someone else. And frankly, there's no stimulus in that. And what it does do is it causes higher tax rates, which will, in fact, hurt the economy. Have you ever heard of a poor man spending himself into prosperity? That's basically what they've tried to do, and it doesn't work.
Well, you know, you look at well over half the American people are taking some handout from the government, and so the political will doesn't seem to be there to turn this thing around. You've written a book, so here's the prescription. Do you think we're going to take it?
Yes, I do. I really do. I'm very optimistic. I mean, if you'll remember when we came in 1981 with Reagan, it was Jimmy Carter was not very much different than Barack Obama. And we had all of these same arguments coming in the 1970s. And, you know, it's very simple. Reagan understood that if you tax people who work and you pay people who don't work, you're going to get lots of people not working. And the exact same thing is happening today, and I think people are getting sick of it. And I think by 2013, we can put in a really good economic plan and bring back prosperity to America. And it's really not all that difficult, Pat. It's really not if you have the political will to do what's right.
Well, it looks like there's going to be a change in administration. We talk about regime change, but we've got a big one coming up here. How do you read the politics?
Well, I do see the same thing. It took Jimmy Carter to create Ronald Reagan, and it really did. And if that's true, just imagine the great president that's going to follow Barack Obama. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm very excited about America and about what we can do. And remember, progress is not just a continuous thing. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 back. You know, it's not even, it's not smooth. And by 2013, 2014, we should be able to put in great policies that will just launch America to another 50 years of prosperity. I'm looking forward to it.
Is there an actor, politician in waiting someplace that we don't know about, ready to step on the scene?
Well, let me just ask you, are you ready to run again?
No, I've had once at it, Art. That's all I can tell you.
Good. Well, you know, whatever it is, I think it's the circumstances, Pat, that really create the great politician. I mean, you never would have guessed Reagan would be as good as he was if you'd have just seen his record in California. It wasn't a sterling record in California, but as president, he was one of the best presidents America has ever had. Yeah. And, you know, it's the times that create the hero. It's not the intrinsic character of the man, I don't think. So I think a lot of these candidates who are running could, in fact, become the next Ronald Reagan, or maybe even better. It just would be amazing.
What would you say in relation to the deficit, the tax code, particularly business stimulus and so forth? Sure. What would you do? What policies
would... Well, what I would do on taxes is I'd get rid of all federal taxes except for sin taxes and have two low-rate flat taxes, one on business net sales and one on personal unadjusted gross income. And you'd have those two rates. If you did that, you could have something around, 11% tax rate and replace all federal revenues without a Laffer curve effect. I mean, this is what Jerry Brown ran on in 1992. In fact, I worked with him on his 13% flat tax. And, you know, it would work then and it would work now. It's just what's right. Then on unfunded liabilities, which are a real problem, you can extend the age of retirement. You can put in requirement clauses, et cetera. I would sell off all the nationalized industries. I would put a federal, state, and local tax amnesty program, which would allow us to bring people who aren't paying taxes today back into the mainstream. I mean, we have lots and lots of ways of bringing the budget into balance very quickly without a lot of pain. It really wouldn't take much.
Well, you know, one of these tax acts they call the Lawyers and Accountants Relief Act, and yes. You've got the lawyers and accountants will be against that. They don't, I mean, the flat tax is too simple. That puts them out of work.
Well, you know, it allows them to do productive work is what I think of. You know, they have lots of things they could do besides trying to squeeze people for money. You know, they could actually do productive work, and I think they would like to do that, too. No one likes doing work that they know is unproductive sure. for the society. I don't think they like doing that.
One question, the price of oil is, well, it's crowding up towards $100 a barrel. It hasn't gotten there yet, but it's on the way. Yeah. We talk about energy independence. Is that a good idea or not?
Well, no, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea at all. But what we should do is we should stimulate all the energy production we can in the United States. I see no reason why we can't have nuclear power plants, Pat. I mean, it just makes no sense. Now, what I would do with a nuclear power plant to make sure it's safe, and believe me, I would really like to see those plants safe, I would require the board of directors and the officers of the corporations and their families to live on premise and send their kids to school on premise. I'll guarantee you those plants are safe. Yeah. Offshore drilling, it's a natural we should have offshore drilling. I mean, if we don't do offshore drilling, then Indonesia will. And if Indonesia does it, they're going to kill 1,000 times more animals and plants than we ever would. We are, in fact, the best country in the world to do offshore drilling, not the worst. So we are the ones who should be doing all of this stuff and not the other places. And if we made sensible energy policies, we could bring the price of energy way down, and we could become more independent, but never should America seek to become energy independent. That's not a good policy.
Art Laffer, maybe you should run for president. You've got the concepts.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'd be glad to work with you if you do run, Pat.
All right, we'll see what we can do. Arthur Laffer, the new book is called Return to Prosperity. It's a must-read. You ought to see it. You can get copies wherever books are sold.